Hi, I'm Cameron. I'm sure you've figured that out by now, but if you haven't, you're welcome to the video. It's starting now. I hope you'll enjoy it. Um, this is our special Japan episode because that's right, I am in Japan. Um, as you can tell by the exterior, the lack of locks on the doors. That's the bathroom, and there's no lock on it. I guess as an aside, my apartment back in America doesn't have a lock on the bathroom door either, coincidentally enough. But that's irrelevant right now. We're not talking about America right now. God bless America, USA. We're talking about Japan because I am in Japan, and going to Japan is something that I have wanted to do literally my entire life. Um, Not even just because I'm a massive degenerate weeaboo or anything like that. Um, I mean, I've always just liked Japan stuff, you know? I mean, when I was a little kid, first thing I did was play GameCube, you know? Um, but I mean, not even so much as wanting to go because, anime, obviously. Um, but it's it's a country that exists in the way that it does, and it manages to produce pretty much everything that's had such a massive, profound impact on my life. And I wanted to go to that place so that way I could get an idea about what influenced that, what might have created that to begin with. Um, and I mean, I don't think anything necessarily profound has happened or anything like that. At least not on like a spiritual level or something. Where it's like, oh, this is why Tomino made Gandamu. Um, but I do think I've learned a few things, even just in the day that I've been here since I got here yesterday. Um, and so today is the first full day that I spent in Japan. Um, a lot happened today, so I guess I'll just go through it just because I'm really excited about it. I might not sound excited, but that's mostly just because I'm not allowed to be loud, and I'm not the only one here. Um, I came here with some other people, um, so they're downstairs, and I don't want them to hear me talking because I don't want to be too loud or anything like that. Um, I don't know how good the audio is on this, but I'm just gonna wing it. I can always just like bass boost up, like like all the cars that drive by my apartment in America that I said I wasn't going to talk about. Um, so sorry, just walk by. Um, so getting off of the plane was a very weird feeling. Because once I got off of the plane, I kind of just felt like it was any other airport, It was like any other airport. Um, I think I had my first exposure to the stress of being in Japan at the airport. Since I've never been out of the country before, the farthest I've ever gone was um, Las Vegas for a bit. I've talked about that before, and then prior to that, it was Wisconsin, which is only a few states away from where I live. So not really that far. Not really that far. Um, so having to get through customs was a bit intimidating. Um, and trying to get through the gate with the security guard who doesn't speak English. Um, and you get up there and like you tap all like your information that you need, like your passport and stuff, and it doesn't work. It just kind of flashed red for a second, and he like the guard just kind of said like you need more address. I'm like, more address? What does that mean? So I said like address, and he just kind of like taps the screen and doesn't say anything. He looks really tired because obviously I'm just some dumb American. Um, so I bow and like I step back out of line. I eventually I figure out that like the address in order to get into Japan wasn't filled out properly, so I just filled that out, got back in line, walked through, and then everything was fine. Um, Side note about going to Japan. Um, Nobody that I know of ever talks about the customs. Um, Nobody ever talks about how you need to fill out a residency form, like down to the minute of where you're staying, when you're staying, where you're from, all that and stuff like that. Um, that was stressful to do. I didn't like that. um, just going to a different state or something like that, you just show up. Um, but this was a very extended process. But then once we got out of the airport, um, we needed to get on the train. I I'm gonna talk about this now because I don't want the whole video to be like the train video. Like we keep stopping to talk about trains. Um, they weren't joking about that train system. I wish that there was a train system like this in America. Um, you just get your card at the airport and then you get on the train. That's it. You just put how much money you want on the train, you just tap it and you go. And it's like uh, legitimately it's like imagine if you could like travel 7 miles in like 5 minutes and it costs like $1. That's what transportation is like in Japan. Like I I can get on a train at any station, and even after just being here for like a day or two, I have 100% confidence that I could figure out where I'm supposed to go. I could figure out how to get to like I mean, we went to Akihabara today, and it was just a matter of like pulling out my phone, typing in Akihabara, and then just clicking the option, and like it's just fully like straightforward, like go here, get on this train, wait. Everything is connected to everything else, and all of the streets are so walkable. Um, it's crazy. Um, I I can't imagine what it must be like to drive a car in this city because it's like the roads are made for people, not for vehicles. Um, it took like 20 minutes to get from to like move between three different cities. Um, it takes me half an hour to walk downtown to go to the arcade or in in the city that I live in America. I don't like that very much. Um, but everything is so compact and neat and convenient, and I really like that a lot. That's really awesome. Um, so I went to 7-Eleven and got some food at 7-Eleven. That's also just straightforward. It's just 24/7. You just go in there, get your stuff, and the food is so high quality, and it's so cheap too. When I say cheap, I don't mean low quality. I mean, like, 'cause I just said quality. Um, but I mean, like, you get a sandwich for like $1, and it's like the best dollar sandwich you've had in your entire life. Um, I think that if a person came to Japan, they could sustain themselves with just 7-Eleven, and it would be cheaper than groceries in America, and probably healthier too. Um, but we went to Akihabara, and once we got there, um, there was kind of this moment where we were standing. We like walked out into an area, and there was this view, and I kind of like looked around, and I just said like, "We did it. We made it to Japan." And like it kind of hit me in that moment that I actually am in Japan. Um, and we walked around this like store that was set up for an anniversary or something, and it had a bunch of like anime characters like out and like props and stuff like that. Um, there was like a Bleach sword that you could pose with, and there was a button on it where if you pressed it, it went Bangai. And like the store attendant like walked over and pressed the button. And it was like Bangai, and that was funny. Um, then you walked a little bit farther down Akihabara, and it's like looking around like, oh, anime, just like looking up like, oh, anime girl, oh. Um, and we found this bookstore. It was called like Akihabara Tower, like book tower or something like that. It was like 8 floors of books. I want to say the biggest building I've been in my life was probably 4 stories. So going into an 8-story building that's nothing but books was really, really awesome. Um, and every different floor was like a different flavor. You know, I mean, it's so cool to like go into a place like that. It's like the first floor is kind of generalized. It's all just like really, you know, like a little bit of everything down there, and then like you go up, and each time you get this like completely different environment where it's like, oh, this is kind of the sports floor. This is kind of like the military floor. This is kind of like the anime floor. Um, and I really liked that a lot. One thing I liked a lot about it as well, and I'm being genuine about this, I'm not being funny, haha, um, is that like adult content in Japan isn't like considered this weird, crazy social taboo, you know? Um, and that's nice, I think. I think that it's cool that this like I mean, like legitimately, like everybody watches porn. You know, like every single person watches porn. If somebody's watching this video right now and they're like, I don't do that, you're a liar. You are a liar, and you are lying to yourself more than you're lying to me. I'm just some guy on the internet. If me saying that you watch porn offends you, then I think that you need to come to Japan and get mad. Um, but like it doesn't bother me. Like I adjusted to it pretty quickly since I mean I like and genuinely like I do like that kind of art because hentai is art. Um, but there's like a lot of artists that I follow who draw that type of stuff, and I was unfortunately I couldn't find anything from an artist I actually recognized. I would have picked something up. But it definitely puts you off guard a little bit walking into a public bookstore where there's like, you know, families like, you know, raising kids to have good values and stuff like that. Um, and then like you turn a corner and just like out, like not wrapped or anything, it's just like lolly full frontal. Like that's the cover of the book in the bookstore, like in the broad daylight on the first floor. Um, that was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. Um, but then like you just have people just walking by, just looking at it like it's any other book on the shelf, and I really like that since if like sex isn't seen as this like weird taboo over there, over here. I'm not over there. I'm here. Um, and I'm not gonna get like political or anything like that. I'd never do that. But it does make me think, why is it that I mean, I'll speak from my own experiences on this. Um, my mom is really weird when it comes to that stuff. She like screams about it, like, no, don't look at that. Oh, um, I mean, like, I'm talking like if I was playing a game and like someone kissed, she'd like be like, Cameron. Ah, I was gonna say my full name, but I don't want to dox myself. Um, but she would get like really angry about that and be like, "What are you looking at, young man?" Like there's anything wrong about like the natural biological thing that we're designed to do. I think that if there was like proper sexual education in, you know, America, since that's where I'm from, um, I think that you'd have a lot less degeneracy, I suppose. Um, but yet it's like um, violence is so normalized over there. Like, I mean, there are games that get made in Japan that get uncensored in America. Like they're more violent in America. Like they make it more violent for the American version. And I mean, like hunting is so emphasized. I remember when I was a kid, I was just walking down the street and someone just had like a deer carcass just lying in their driveway, just ripped open. The guts are all over the place. Now, it's okay for me to see that as a little kid, but, you know, an attractive woman, ladies, that's not okay for some reason. I don't get that. So I really do genuinely like the fact that you can go into like any bookstore in Japan and you can just buy like dojinshi or just like like models and stuff like that. I think that's good. That is a good thing. I like that. But again, I didn't find anybody I care about or any artists or anything, so I didn't get anything, unfortunately. Um, and while I was in there, I thought like I really want to practice my Japanese. I'm like kind of anxious about it, but I really want to practice my Japanese. Um, so I went over to an attendant and I said to him like, uh, eigo wakari desu ka? Like, eigo wakari desu ka? And that means, is English okay? And he looked at me and he was like, he kind of like side glanced me and he was like, "Ah, wakarimasen." Oh, that means I don't, like, no, it's not. Or like, I don't do that or something like that. It means, in that context, my question being, do you speak English? The answer was basically no in that. Like, I do not. Um, so like I kind of stutter a bit. I'm just like, America, this, and he's like, I, yes. I'm like, Gundam, Gandamu, and he's like, Gandamu. And I'm like, hi. And he's like, eto. I'm like, arigatou gozaimasu. So, um, that was like really, that was really nervous, like nerve wracking for me. I was very nervous. I so nervous I can't even speak proper English when I'm talking about it. Um, that was really nerve wracking for me. And that was interesting because I don't really get anxious talking to people that much, but I have here. And there's more to come on that. There's more to talk about with that specifically, but I want to keep the story moving, you know. Um, so then after that, we kind of just walked into different stores in Baston, like, oh, cool thing we don't have in America. Like, oh, when you go to like a box lunch in America, um, and there's like all that wall of like One Piece statues, and you're like, man, this guy was in like one chapter. Why does he have his own statue? Going to Japan and seeing those same types of figures, but for literally everything, is so cool. I really love that part of it. And so just looking around stores like that. Um, and then after that, we went to like the Steins Gate Maid Cafe. Um, that went a lot better than I thought it was going to. I'm gonna be honest. It's like I kind of felt like a loser walking in. Like, man, I'm really doing this. I'm like some weirdo, like Goliath, like 6'2" American guy going into this like petite little maid cafe over in Akihabara. Um, I kind of felt like a loser a bit. Like, man, this is really weird, you know. Um, but I'll tell you what, I never before in my life have I ever felt so understood. And it was like this maid cat. I mean that too. I'm not being funny about it. It was like this maid cafe gave that to me because I go in there and the maid like comes over and she just like asks how many and like, oh, okay, we have three people. Um and she's already really cute. This is gonna be the the gushing part of the video. This is gonna be the Cameron the ladies man blazing part of the video. um, but there were a few mates in there, and they were all really cute. They were they were all really cute. Um, and we sit down, and the maid comes over and she explains things to us in Japanese. She didn't speak any English, um, but she was very good at gesturing when she said things and emphasizing English words. So it was so cool. But even though it was complete Japanese, there wasn't like any English aside from like photo or like or drinku or something like that. Um, it was just like the context clues made it so that way. It was like I could perfectly understand what she was saying, and I think that's a testament to how good at her job that she was so friendly and she was so charismatic, to be able to explain to a group of a bunch of dumb foreigners how to order in a menu that was entirely in Japanese. Um, and there was an English menu too, but it was like, bad English. It was like broken English. So that made it fun. That was funny to laugh at that. Um, but then we order our food. And they even have like themed items on the Steins Gate stuff. So I got the amu rice. It's just like a omelet that has rice inside of it. In case you didn't figure that one out, not everybody has a degree. You know, not everybody has a degree. But there were Steins Gate themed drinks, and I ordered the Okabe drink. Because like on the picture, it looked like a kind of like a darker drink or something, um, kind of like brownish. So I kind of thought like, oh, this must be like a Dr. Pepper. It wasn't. Um, I took like one sip of that, like a like a big old sip, like a big sip. It wasn't a swig, but it wasn't quite a sip, somewhere in between. Um, and I thought that tastes really foamy. Hmm. And then I had my friend, who is not going to be named since they don't like being a part of stuff like this. Um, I had my friend who was sitting next to me. I was like, "Hey, could you taste this quick?" And he tasted it, and he like kind of like smacks his lips a little bit. And I'm like, "Is that alcohol?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's alcohol." I'm like, "Oh, well." For reference, I've never had alcohol before in my entire life. Um, that was the first time. That would have been the first time. I never intended to have alcohol before. In fact, it was always a very big deal for me that I just never have alcohol because I was like, no, I don't like alcohol. I don't like the idea of it. Um, However, I did say if I ever did have alcohol, it would be when I was in Japan. Since I always heard the sake was really good, I thought like I'll try that out maybe. Um, but legitimately, it it really was just like I'm never going to drink, and I didn't I didn't really feel bad about it or anything. It was just that it's like, well, I didn't know it was in Japanese. I'm still gonna drink it because I paid for it. Um, at that point, it's like I've already drank some of it, so what, like this no big deal. Um, it was okay. My life's not changed forever now. I'm not gonna like start drinking or anything like that. Um, it was fine. It was a drink. That's it. It tasted. I don't know. It like tasted how Novocaine smells. I guess it wasn't. I got used to it, but like, I can't imagine like being like exhausted or something. Like, man, I could use a drink. It's like, no, it was just a liquid. It just tasted different than like, I don't know. I think coffee is a lot better. I think that like a nice black coffee is a lot better. Has more kick to it. Um, but that would have been like the first time that I have ever had alcohol. And then we order our food. And as I said, I had the amu rice. But like the Steins Gate themed amu rice is that you could like have like the writing on it like they do at the cafe in Steins Gate, and one of the options was Shine, what Kurisu writes on it. That means die in Japanese. So the maid is like pointing out the options to us, and I kind of stare at it for a second, and I point at the one that says die, and she looks at me and she goes, eh, shine, eh, and she even did like the like, eh. That was it was so cute. She was like super into it. All of them were like super into it. Um, and we're sitting there, after that point, like laughing. And like the whole cafe is like Steins Gate themed. Like they have like pictures from the visual novel like set up around the cafe, and like they just have it on a monitor like playing over at the counter, and like the soundtrack is just like going the whole time. um there was like a big old Ferris cutout. um I don't know who it was, but it was autographed, so that might have been like the artist or like the voice actress or something like that. But that was there. There was like a whole massive wall that I didn't get any pictures of because there were people sitting in front of it, and they explained that they really don't want you to take pictures of other guests, obviously. Um, and the part that really got to me about this like cafe visit is that the maid that we had um brought out um these books, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. um I thought that it was like a little like sign-in book, like you just write like, oh, I'm from America or something like that. um and I opened it up, and it's all of these different people that like are writing their messages, like being like, there was like a German message in there. There was something from Kazakhstan. I can't pronounce that because the braces. That's my excuse. Um, but like China, Korea, um, like France. There were. I'm gonna get emotional about this. I'm gonna get emotional about it. Um, there were so many different messages from so many different people in so many different countries, and like so many different languages. And it was like, even though that I can't read like any of those languages, I can only just read English. um but like there were still bits and pieces, like where like there'd be this big long message that was written in Korean, and then just in English underneath that it would be like, I love Steins Gate. And like how many messages I could read that just say stuff like, I did it, I finally made it to Japan, or like, everyone here has been so nice to me. I love Steins Gate. This cafe is amazing. And reading all of those messages while I'm sitting in this like room that's designed around one of my favorite things of all time, it like it makes you feel like you're less alone. You know, that there's like this many other people in the world, and even though they don't even speak the language that you speak, and they come from a completely different culture, they still have that like same feeling that you do. And that's what I want to do. That's the impact that I want to have on the world. I want to do something that helps so many different people like that. In the same way that these like however many guys in a shed decided to make a visual novel about time travel. I want to change the world in that way. I do. And then, I'm getting there. I'm getting like choked up because like the music's playing and stuff like that. And I write like my own little message in there. I'm not gonna say what it is. If for some reason you're in Japan, you can go there and you can try and figure out which one's mine. Um, it'd probably be pretty obvious. I had to change pens halfway through because the one I was writing with ran out. Um, but eventually the maid came back and she like gave us all of our food and stuff, and she handed me mine that said die on it, and she just stood there in this like monotone in this like monotone voice, and she kept looking at me, and she looked at me and she just kept saying die over and over again to me. And it was so cute, it was so funny. um and the food was really good. Like, yeah, no, it was just good food too. You know, you just put ketchup on eggs. It's pretty good. Um, and then there was an option to get your picture taken with one of the maids, and like there's like a little bell that we ring. I felt like such a dick ringing that bell, but that's what you do. There's this little bell that you ring, and they like come over to you. And I guess I wanted like a photo, like picture. Um, and she explained it again in Japanese. And then she asked which one of the maids I wanted to take a picture with, and there's no way that like a dumb American like me who barely like I can say hi and thank you. You know, I'm not gonna be able to articulate like her or something like that. So I kind of just sit there awkwardly for a bit, and like I just like look up at her and I just like point at her, and she goes, "Eh, me, eh, arigato gozaimasu," and it was so cute. These I tell you what, these girls that are, you know, that make a living off of being nice to people and being cute. those those girls gotta like make like 800 figures in Japan. I'd say six figures, but that's like really not that much. That's like $20 in American money. Those girls gotta make like enough to buy a penthouse. You know, they gotta make enough to like buy a mansion. It was, oh, it was so cute. It was so cute. Um, and then like she took a little bit. She had to like take care of some other guests, and every single time, bless her heart, every single time she walked past our table, she came over to me specifically, and she like bowed and like was like, oh, like please give me some more time. Oh, like every single time. This like, you know, like weirdo like American. Um, and then we like we like found an area to take the picture. We took the picture. I did like a really bad like Okabe pose. Um, and she was like laughing and giggling the whole time. And I said like, "Watashi wa kakoi desu." Then she's like, "Ah, kakoi." And kakoi means cool in Japanese. So I said, "I am cool." And she's like, "Hi, you're cool." I'm like, "Oh, I'm cool." Um, and they give you like a Polaroid of it too. Like they have like an actual like Polaroid camera that they like print the photo out on. Um, so like that we had to wait for that to finish up, and it finally finished up, and she gave it to me, and she like bowed again, and she's being so cute. Um, and she like, I didn't know, but she like signed it, and she like drew like dozens of hearts all over it and dated it, and it's like me and her, and we're doing this like dumb pose. I don't think it's dumb. I think it's a really cool pose. Um, we're doing this like pose, and she wrote "We are Okarin" at the top, like we are Okabe at the top. Um, and that's just like I was smiling so hard at that. Um, that really made my day. But it wasn't even done there, because like we go to check out, and we're checking out and stuff. Um, and like every little interaction is like sprinkled with like moe, you know, just the cutest girls. I swear. Um, I handed her the money. Well, I was like counting through my bills, and I was counting in Japanese, and I kept messing up, and I just said screw it. So I was like, I give up. I'm not counting in Japanese. So I started counting out loud like one, two, three, and she came over and she was like 4, 5, 6. Like, she started counting along and pumping me up. Um, and I miscounted because I was like distracted. And then she like looked at me and she took the money from me and she looked at me and she counted at like 1, 2, 3, like right in front of me in the store. Um, and then once we finished up, she she was like bowing and thanking us again. And I said that she was I said that she was cute. I said like kawaii and I like gestured to her and she's like, oh, arigato, arigato, kakoi. She's like pulling at me and she's like, you're cool. And I'm like, well, you're cute. Um and then like we're leaving the store and she hands us like a card to stamp and she like tells us to come back again. Um and and then like we're walking out and she follows us out of the store and she's still waving at us like, ah, thank you, arigato. um and I say goodbye to her and she's like, ah, goodbye. And like she followed us out of the store to say goodbye. And like when we left, I turned to my friend and I said, like, I looked over at like one of the big like Akihabara buildings, and the sun was shining, and I said to him, "I think this is the best day of my life." I I had a really good time. Those those girls are very good at their job. It was it was really cool. Um, just like the hospitality, you know, it was really nice, you know. Um, I mean, there's really like no way to put it, you know. Um, I guess to like build into that, I realize that this video is going a bit longer, but since it's the Japanese special, it might just be a bit longer, and that's okay. Um, and then after that, I had to articulate. I had to like get everything up here. Um, after after we did that, we went over to the building, like from Steins Gate, like the Radicon building. There was no satellite at the top. But we like, took some pictures of it, and we went inside, and it's a really cool building. This video would be 5 hours long if I talked about every single shop that we went into. Um, so it's easier just to talk about the standout ones. There were a couple of game stores, like video game stores. I got a copy of Xenosaga 1 for like $3. That's like $80 in America. Um, and there was a figure shop where they had figures of like the Persona 3 through 5 characters, and I reached over to like look at the Persona 4 characters, and I thought to myself, yeah, well, they're never gonna have like, why do they never have like Persona 1 and 2? They had like Persona 1 and 2 figures, and I'm pretty sure I gasped out loud. Um, I realize now making this video, there's a lot of like games and stuff like that I haven't necessarily talked about liking. I really love Persona, except for 5. 5 sucks. This isn't even like a contrarian thing. I liked 5 a lot when I played it, and then the more I played of the rest of them, I don't think it's that good. It's fine, but whatever. Um, I really love Persona. 4 is my favorite of the games, but 2 is like the best one, even though the gameplay sucks. Um, but I love all of them a lot, pretty equally. And so they had a Persona 1 protagonist and a Tatsuya, I always get his name wrong, a Persona 2 protagonist statue. And I didn't have enough to get both of them. I also couldn't carry it, so I got the Persona 1 guy. I got the Naoya statue. Um, so I was really happy about that. And the other thing I really liked about the stores is they had like these doll stores. Um, I don't know what the like specific term is, so if anybody in the comments knows that or something like that, you can let me know. Um, but they had these like doll stores, and these dolls were like so beautiful, like they were so cute. Um, I mean, it's really not like something that I have a frame of reference for. I didn't even know about it until I saw it, like today. Um, but in the same way that like greasy men like us, and you know, in the offhand chance that a girl is watching this video and likes building Gunpla, I'm not talking about you. Your grease is like a more refined grease than mine. You don't have the bags under your eyes as prominent as I do. Yours is like an eyeshadow that emphasizes your beauty. And these dolls had that type of like eyeshadow, and there was something genuinely really beautiful about the way that they were set up. Um, and one of the floors had like an exhibit where they had like type moon characters like set up. Like there was a CL, there was an Arcuid, there was Hime. I call her Hime because I played Melty Blood at some point. And some fake characters I don't care about. But they were set up and they were so like genuinely beautiful. It didn't even feel like, oh, this is from this anime, that this anime thing. It was like, no, like this like it's like that beauty is captured in a way that I never really thought about before. Um and there was like an I realized that like half of this store was like set up for display, like for a person to come to the store with their doll, set them up, and take pictures of them. And there was one guy there who had like a professional camera, and he had his like little doll all set up. And she like had like her cute little dress or something, and he had her like he was like putting her in different poses and taking pictures of her. I almost wanted to like go over and be like, she's really pretty, or like she's beautiful. Um, but I don't know how to say that in Japan, and I don't think you just go up to people and say things to them in Japan. I did. I saw some white guy with a Persona 4 shirt on, and I went over. I was like, "Hey man, love your shirt, love Persona." And he was like, "Oh, arigato gozaimasu." And I'm like, "Oh, was he not actually white? Oh." Maybe he just spoke Japanese. I don't know. But that's like a thing, is that like when you're in Japan, your brain does kind of switch a little bit. I bumped into somebody in one of the stores, and I turned and I'm like, "Oh, sumimasen," like, please excuse me. And it was some like white dude who's like 8 feet taller than me. And I'm like, "Oh, sorry, bro. Sorry." I'm just so used to saying like sumimasen. I'm not used to it. He's like, "Oh, no worries, man. My brain switches all the time." It was great. Um, but these dolls were so beautiful, and like that's one of those things where if I had like a big giant mansion with like a billion rooms in it, I would want like one of those rooms to be like of those dolls. And I think it was really cool. You know, like you could like take the eyes out, you could like swap the head, like the bust, and like the rest of the body and everything. And in the same way that like people who really like building Gundam statues will like swap out the parts to make their own like designs, you could like swap out the different features, and you could make your own doll and like dress her up. And that was really beautiful. I really liked that. Um, there was like a certain kind of beauty through expression that I hadn't really seen before. Since you know, I like art, I like video games, I like I love media in general. Um, but I'd never really seen the dolls before, and I really liked that. Since I can't come up with the like official name or anything, like just go look at like Thunderbolt Fantasy or whatever it's called. That's like a show that's animated using only dolls. Um, that's like close to what I was talking about, but like it's like kind of more tangentially related to that. I really have to figure out what the actual name is. Somebody, if you know, please let me know. Um, but I really enjoyed that. That might have been like my favorite part about going to Redicon, just like discovering that. Um, And then when I climbed to the final floor that the public has access to, I couldn't find a way to get to the roof, obviously. Um, there was like a little Steins Gate like merch table set up, just being like, "Oh, 10th anniversary, let's go." I really like that too. Um, then after that, we went and got some ramen, sat down. It was super hot. It is like scorching where I'm from. It's like always over 100, but like I was drenched by the end of the night. Like I'm looking around and nobody else is sweating as much as me. I'm like drenched. But the food was fantastic. I don't think I'm gonna ever enjoy the ramen place in my city ever again in America compared to this because it's just so expensive. Like here, a big old like an extra large bowl of ramen is like $6 or $7, and that's like with bonus stuff in it. Like I had like 2 eggs and everything. The ramen place I like going to in town is like $25 for like less, like way less. Um, and just in general, everything here is so much cheaper. Not even with the exchange rate. Like if the exchange rate was like 1 to 1 to yen to United States dollar, um, it would still be dirt cheap in comparison. It's so nice. Um, then after that, we stopped at a 7-Eleven to get some food, and I tried talking to the guy at the cashier. And I didn't like talk to him. I just like walked up and and he asked me a question. I didn't know the answer, and I just kind of stood there. And then he like kind of I can't really describe how his voice was. Um, he sounded tired, like and annoyed. He kind of like pointed at something that was in Japanese, and I just said like yeah, like no. Um, and he kind of just like nods his head, and like I look up and I'm like I'm America. That's like I'm an American, and he just like looks at me, kind of like nods a bit. And like I pay him, hands me my and um like the stuff's just kind of like on the counter, and like I'm kind of fumbling with my wallet to like put the change away. And like I reach over and grab it. I'm like, "Oh, you got the gozaimasu." Then he says like the 7-Eleven thing, and I felt really awkward about that. That was really awkward. Um, and it's like through that interaction, it made me appreciate the maids even more because the amount of patience that those girls have, to like deal with like foreigners like me, and to still be so friendly and bubbly and cute. That really takes a lot. And I I felt bad for a bit because it's like, man, what did I do? It's like you didn't do anything. It's not like America, it is literally a language barrier. You didn't say anything to offend anybody or anything like that. It's just the fact that I don't speak the language very well. Like I know how to say yes and thank you. That's it. I can say American words and add des to the end of it. That's what I can do. Um, but it's just like he's just tired. He works at 7-Eleven, you know, and that guy was working at the bookstore. He doesn't know English. He has to deal with foreigners every day coming in. And not only does that like make me appreciate the maids even more. God, thank you, Jesus in the sky, bud, for those maids. Um, but I I think that makes me be more understanding of like my own type of circumstances back home. When I worked retail, I always tried to be friendly to whoever came in. There were times where like people would come in and they wouldn't speak English, and I would still help them. Like I remember one time 2 kids came in who spoke Spanish and they had Google Translate, and like I sold them a PS4 and a membership with it through Google Translate. Um, and it just kind of makes me feel like I need to I need to be more patient, with people in America too. Since I mean, like when I worked in a call center, I would like hang up on people if they were like rude, if they were like rude to me or didn't like, if they were rude and didn't speak English, I was really annoyed at that. Um, but I don't think that like I'm a bad person. I don't think I'm rude to people because they're different or anything like that. I just mean that being in an environment where you're subjected to both sides, where it's like, oh wow, this person's so nice to me, or like, oh, this person's kind of rude. It kind of just makes you understand a little bit better things that you don't necessarily get while you're in America. I mean, look at me. Look at me. I don't have to do with much walking down the street. There are people that I cross when I'm walking down the street that have it a hell of a lot rougher than I'm having in America or in Japan right now in America. And being on the receiving end of that when that's just not something that I have to deal with walking down the street in the state that I live in, it's a good thing because then that makes a person more tolerant, that makes a person more patient, that makes a person more understanding. And that's a very important life lesson to learn. And that's something that I just don't get much exposure to in the circumstances that I have back home that I do here. And that's a good thing. I'm not going to lie and say that I don't get scared every single time I go to the counter, like, oh no, I have to buy something now. I have to, try and navigate this. They probably think I'm a stupid American or something like that. Um, but it's one of those really horrible feelings of just like casual interaction that is a good thing to know, because then that just makes you a more patient person. Makes you a more patient person. You were there too, in my heart. Um, but at that same time, even just being here a couple of days, I already kind of miss home. I think it's just the way that I am. I I'm gonna be here for like another 2 weeks, and after 2 days, I'm already like kind of thinking, I hear her voice in the morning hour. She calls me. Radio reminds me of my home far away. And I'm curious how the rest of the trip is going to go. I think we're gonna go see the Gundam statue tomorrow, and I that's like one of the reasons I wanted to go to Japan, just to see the Gundam statue. Um, but being in an environment where, well, back home, it's like I always say, like, nobody else is like me, and that's true. I genuinely believe that. I think I'm gonna go back home, and I'm probably gonna feel even more lonely than I did before. Um, just because, like, being in Japan, the fact that I can walk through a bookstore and like, oh yep, there's porn, and there's like 8 guys who are all doing the same thing. It's like, yeah, let's go. Um, or like just the fact that like all of the hyper specific niche things that I like in America that I got bullied for, I got like shoved into puddles and stuff like that, have like 5 floors of a building dedicated to it in Japan. Even if I don't speak the language and they think I'm like some weird foreigner, the fact that like I'm in a place where people are excitedly talking about Gundam or about PlayStation 2 games, that's something that just doesn't happen back home. And it never will. That's just not my life. Um, but, not being able to talk to the cashier, not being able to just go up to someone and say, hey, I really like your doll, or hey, I really like your shirt. Um, it makes me appreciate the little things a lot more. It makes me appreciate that I am able to communicate, and that I can articulate myself in a way that means something to me. And some part of me went on this trip to figure all of this out. I mean, I've talked about how I don't mind working with children. I've worked a lot with children before. Maybe I want to move to Japan and be an English teacher. And for someone like me who is already feeling like I have to force myself into being somebody different, and I like talking, if I move to a place where I never say anything and talking to the cashier makes me anxious, that's not really going to fix anything either, now is it? It's like being repressed in a different way. Now, if I learn Japanese, that would, that would help, obviously, but then I'm just the foreigner who's surprisingly good at Japanese. So even just in the 2 days I've been here, I kind of miss Domino's. I kind of miss pizza. I I kind of I kind of miss I kind of miss my parents. I kind of miss everything. And it's been 2 days. It's not like I'm getting homesick or anything. It's just that being this far away makes me realize how how distant everything is, even back home. And maybe I can figure out what I'm supposed to do while I'm here. Maybe I don't need to run away from everything and go somewhere else in order to figure all of that out. I am trying to be dramatic here about this, but this like camera angle is like really weird. Like this like specifically makes me look like a different person. But like this too, it's like, hey guys, how's it going? But it's like, hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Cameron. Maybe I'm just sunburnt. Maybe I'm just like sunburnt. I didn't wear sunscreen today. I was outside all day. That's probably bad. Um, but I guess the main takeaways from today are I bought cool stuff. I spent way too much money. Um, and I love maids. Like apparently that's a completely different experience from like other maid cafes. It's a lot more like chill. Um, but I love those girls. I don't even say that with like a shred of shame whatsoever. There is nothing wrong about me being a massive degenerate otaku weeaboo. After going to that store and seeing those girls, I don't feel bad about that at all. Those girls are wonderful people, and I genuinely hope that they all get like Porsches and mansions in the future because they made me feel cool for for just eating at their restaurant, and I love them. I love that place. That place made me feel the happiest I've ever felt in my entire life because I felt understood, and that's something that a $100,000 piece of paper from a university can never do. That's that's something that winning a speech competition in high school. I don't know if I talked about that one here. That's something that can never do, you know. But to feel understood and encouraged at the things that I care about by cute girls, nonetheless. Cute girls that go, eh, arigato gozaimasu, arigato. When you call them cute is
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. So I I'm probably gonna get some sleep now. This video is gonna take forever to upload. I don't think the Wi-Fi here is very good. It might even be uploaded when I'm back. I don't know. If you see this video, and it's not October, I uploaded it before I came back. Um, I don't know how many more of these I'm gonna film. It might be like every day, it might be every few days. But I just wanted to really talk about how I was feeling right now. So yeah, I guess in summary, talking to people is hard, and being in an environment where I literally cannot speak makes me appreciate being back home, where at least I can get mad that people disagree with what I'm saying and not get scared that, people are going to be mean to me because I literally can't articulate anything because I'm speaking a language I don't speak. Um, Akihabara is heaven for people like me. Um, and I love maids now. Never really was big into maids. I love maids now. I am in love with maids. If if like what why is there like no place in America where you can pay a cute girl to tell you to die and also call you cool and blush when you call her cute and then feed you food? I'm telling you, dude, America would kick ass if it was like that. But that's everything from me for now. Thank you for watching. I always do really appreciate it, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. I mean that one too. I really do. Especially if you listen to this random guy talk for an hour. I always really appreciate anyone who does that. And if you skip to the end of the video too, I appreciate that you were curious enough to check out the end of it. So thank you very much for that. Um my feet are really tired because I walked over 10 miles today. I usually only walk like 3 or 4 when I'm back home. I'm really glad I made all those videos of me on the hiking trail, and by all those videos I mean the one that you saw, and then the 3 or 4 that I filmed while I was there, but decided that it'd be better if I just sat down while I talked instead. Um, but I am going to get some sleep. I might eat something. I don't know. But thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.